good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. This is the morning show here on Stock Market TV. Spencer, Steve, JC, Alfonso with you this morning. Let's see what's in the dock today. Mike Lee, founder of Mike Lee Strategy. He'll be on the show at 9. It is Thursday, so Sean McLaughlin will stop by at 9:30. What else is in my dock? I'm seeing New York Community Bank is in my dock. Novo Nordisk is in my dock. Chemours is in my dock. Oh, Victoria's Secrets is in my dock. Not for a good reason. American Eagle's in there. We got some other stuff. We had a lot to talk about today. A lot going on. Good morning, chat. Good morning, everyone on YouTube. Good morning, everyone on Twitter. Hit the like button for me, please. Let's bring the guys on and get going here.
All right. Guess who's going to the city today?
City boy doing city things?
City boy doing city things. Going to a bougie dinner. Swinging by the old Fox Studios, doing a little powwow with my girl Liz Clayman.
Nice. Sushi or no sushi?
Sometimes when I don't think I'm going to get sushi, I end up getting sushi anyway. So I don't want to say no.
Right.
I'm saying there's a chance. It depends on what time I get in. I got a bunch of stuff to do. So if I can get into the city early, maybe grab a quick bite, little snack, little how you doing, maybe. I don't want to ruin my appetite for tonight. I'm going to a super bougie dinner. So like these guys are like, everybody has to bring wine, either a Tuscan or something from Piemonte, like a Barolo, Barbaresco or something. And these guys are bringing like a 1968 Barolos. Like, I don't have any of that stuff. Like, I don't keep wine. I drink it. So like, I've been like scrambling, talking with my, some of my older friends that have saved stuff over the years. I got myself a nice 2000 Super Tuscan. We're going to be fine. Don't worry. Crisis averted.
We will be fine.
Who are these people that you're eating dinner with?
I don't want to mention any names. They're kind of a big deal. People know them. They have many leather-bound books. Their offices smell of rich mahogany.
Rich mahogany? Yeah.
They're a very big deal. They're a very big deal. I don't want to mention any names. But yeah, bougie dinner tonight. And I'm bringing a wine. I'm not going to embarrass myself. Imagine the sommelier comes to the wine with like, some half-ass bottle. Like I can't have that.
You're supposed to bring the best wine.
I'm supposed to bring the best one.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing the best one by a long shot, but I'm bringing something that's acceptable.
All right. Well, that's exciting for you.
JC,
it is exciting.
If one of these dinner companions is Jerome Powell, blink twice.
I'm not having dinner with that guy, dude.
All right.
You think I'm gonna waste my time talking to that guy about
it was a test. It was a test.
Jobs or whatever. Like, what is that guy even into? Like,
just because he works at the Fed doesn't mean he's not a cool guy.
He probably is a cool guy. I just don't want to have conversations about that stuff. Like, if he wants to talk about wine, like I like it when he yelled at the guy to close the fucking door. That was pretty cool.
I don't think he wants to have conversations about it either, especially today, because he just came off his Capitol Hill hearing. And if you know how these things go, I mean, you got like an 85-year-old senator whose team wrote her a very long question with all these words and phrases that she has no idea what it even means. And she's just reading the script, and he has to sit there and act serious back to her. And it's just a really, really big mess when he's on Capitol.
Anyway,
what was worse, those or when they have the crypto guys?
The Fed is so nuanced, and I think the majority of senators really don't understand it. So it's just as bad as crypto.
What were you even watching? You were watching
or big tech.
It's the Capitol Hill hearings. They have them on every so often.
So you just sit there watching C-SPAN?
They put it on the major networks. People pay attention. Yeah,
you watch C-SPAN. You could admit it. Don't front like you're not watching C-SPAN.
Listen, it's background stuff for me.
Yeah. C-SPAN. It's great. It's fantastic. Can we talk about the markets? Can we talk about something that's important?
The cryptos are mooning again? Are they mooning again?
Again, it's still in the process of the moon.
This is like the Ranker and the Fetch AI. I didn't even know Fetch was an AI crypto. I'm sitting there thinking I don't own any AI cryptos. Oh, Fetch is AI.
Can we hit the bumper? We have a whole AI sector of cryptos. Can we hit the bumper?
Yeah, who knew?
All right, let's do a quick little rundown. Why don't we start with the funny money? Bitcoin up another percent this morning, right around 67,000 there, Spencer and Strazza. Ethereum flat on the day, right around 3,800, holding above that key 3,500 level. And then, of course, Solana, new highs, putting up a 10 spot this morning, up 10%. Solana up near 143. Total crypto market cap, Spencer Israel, I know you're very interested, 2.45 trillion in total crypto market cap. Now in traditional markets, TradFi as the kids call it, Dow futures up a hundo. S&P futures up 23 handles, that's about 50 basis points. NASDAQ 100 up a little over 100 points, about 60 bips. 30-year bond futures up again, hanging in there the last couple of weeks, very impressive. Up 50 bips on the 30-year futures, right around 122. You got copper futures up 1.5%, silver flat, gold flat, oil basically flat. Dollar mix in early trading. This yen absolutely ripping. Holy moly.
Not something you can say all that often.
Yeah, the yen absolutely ripping, and then add a holy moly on top of that. Like, no, doesn't happen often at all here for the Japanese yen. But wow, what a ripper.
Jason, if you go to the yen futures chart, though, there couldn't be a more logical level. Like, this is, if you wanted to take a shot on the yen, this is it. We bottomed here at this same exact spot, really, back in late 22 when the market bottomed, and again late 23 just after the market bottom. So that's pretty interesting.
Big move from the yen. Wow, very impressive. What did the is the manipulation back out there? Manipulation the other way now? Is that what's happening?
Typically, you'll see it in their 10-year. I don't know.
The BOJ.
I don't know. You say you don't pay attention to the Fed. I don't really pay attention to Japan's Fed.
You don't pay attention to Japan's Fed?
Not too much, no.
Those guys are wild, man.
Yeah.
Those guys I had Japanese food. My wife and daughter are back from Disney World, so the last few days have been great with the boys. So last night I ordered Japanese food for me and the boys. Woo, we crushed it. We were listening to 90s hip hop. Daddy was drinking sake. They had their water bottles. Like, shoo.
The boys are partying.
Dude, we were hitting it hard, man. They were grabbing things of rice, shoving it down their throats. You know, I was giving them little pieces of salmon sashimi. You would have been very proud, Strazza. Very proud.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wish I was there hanging out with you guys. Were you watching the Miami game too?
No, we had everything. I didn't want any distractions. They're easily distracted. These 1-year-olds. You know how like you're easily distracted and you're a grown adult. So imagine being one.
Right.
So they forget that they're eating and they're right. So you got to have them focus, right? So 90s hip hop, nice and loud. That'll get them going. Spencer, why don't we talk about Apple, Google, Tesla, all making new relative lows yesterday across the board. The downtrend continues as these former darlings, former leaders from prior cycles are doing the exact opposite this time around. New 52-week lows for Apple on a relative basis. New 10-month lows for Google relative to SPY. Tesla, new 52-week lows, of course, on a relative basis. And I just want to throw a couple of discretionary charts here. You know, we're seeing like Mercado Libre kind of like rolling over. Some of these other, just Lululemon, our shorts are working, right? So why don't you throw up, here's consumer discretionary relative to the S&P 500. I wish I had a zoomed out chart. I guess I could put it down. Consumer discretionary was an outperformer for over a decade, right? Consumer discretionary outperformed everything, right? Like literally anything that got in its way, consumer discretionary was outperforming. Now it's doing the exact opposite, right? Pushing down against new 52-week lows on a relative basis. Momentum's in a bearish regime. This is just not the type of behavior that we're seeing in consumer discretionaries that we were seeing in prior cycles, that we were seeing the past decade for that matter. It's actually the exact opposite. And then here you could see on an absolute basis, look at consumer discretionary. So on a relative basis, consumer discretionary obviously looks terrible. Now on an absolute basis, right? So throw up those double charts there. On an absolute basis, you've got some pretty nasty momentum divergences. They don't necessarily have to confirm. Consumer discretionary doesn't necessarily have to fall apart on an absolute basis. It's already doing so relative to the rest of the market. And when you see these bearish momentum divergences showing up on both large caps and small caps, you can't say, oh, that's because they have too much Tesla and Tesla sucks and the Elon and blah. No. It's not a Tesla thing or an Amazon thing. It's a consumer discretionary thing. So I think all front and center, for me.
Well, these bearish momentum divergences are just a stocks thing right now. Go look at any index, you'll see a similar momentum divergence, right? Go look at the S&P, the equal weight S&P, Nasdaq 100, same momentum divergences. So nothing special about consumer discretionary.
What this stands out is that the prices are below the former highs. In those others you mentioned, that's not the case.
Okay, so you're saying that they're confirming a bearish momentum divergence?
I don't know if they're confirming or not, but prices are below those former highs with a bearish momentum divergence. I don't know if that's confirming, because they could still rip from here, right?
It's an art, not a science. I think if somebody wanted to say that's confirmation, yeah.
I'm not going to fight him on it, but again, that could easily reverse today or tomorrow. So like to say, to plant the flag and be like, that's it, discretionaries are over. Like, I'm just pointing out the situation, and you did point out a good fact that there's a lot of momentum divergences out there. The difference between all the ones you mentioned and the ones that I'm pointing out is that prices are below the former highs in these, and they're not in some of the others you mentioned, right?
Here's what I don't love about this. The spider is Tesla heavy. We're really looking at how a group is doing versus the broader market. You don't want to look at the group with the 20% weighting, right?
All right. So there's the small cap consumer discretionary. How much weighting does Tesla have in small cap discretionary?
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the relative trends.
Is it 20%? Is Tesla 20% of small cap discretionary or no?
No, but if you look at like PSCD, IWM, we're just about back at new all-time highs. And if you look at that would be small cap discretionary versus small caps. And if you look at equal weight discretionary versus equal weight S&P 500, it doesn't look great. It peaked last July, but it doesn't look like the cap weighted ratio, the XLY SPY.
Yeah.
And when you look at them on an absolute basis, right, the equal weight discretionary or small cap discretionary, you could argue that these bases just completed here in Q1 of this year. Like these are primary trend reversal patterns. And to undo that, you need not just downside like that's shown here. You need to kind of break back through that base breakout level, which would probably be like pivot highs from last summer.
I'm just seeing things that we are just not accustomed to seeing, right? Yeah. I know that you love your recency bias of the last decade, and what happened in the 2000s is not your concern, which is why you put earmuffs on whenever I talk about precious metals. Fine. This is right up your alley. Your entire career, literally, consumer discretionary has been an outperformer. Yeah. This is the first time in your career that you're seeing the opposite happening. I'm just saying it's just something different. It's something that we haven't been seeing before. Just pointing it out. Do with it what you may. Do nothing with it. Fucking buy it for all I care, right?
You can have this one. You can have this one. This is okay. This is okay with me.
I guess I'm short discretionary, so I suppose I'm in this trade. Yep.
It's one of those. It's like, what were we talking about? We say this a lot, especially lately. It's not bullish, but how bearish is it?
Right. Thank you. I couldn't agree more. It's not bullish. We know that. But how bearish is it? That is to be seen. Agreed 100%. We'll see.
In this kind of market, right? Participation broadening. We've got small caps breaking out of this rounding bottom pattern. The ARChy stuff is starting to work. We're going down on the cap scale, right? Giving some love to smaller stocks and out on the risk spectrum. You would expect discretionaries to be outperforming in this tape. So there's a certain strangeness to the relative weakness here.
When you say it's not bullish for what?
Broader market. In general, broader markets, the economy, humans,
risk assets.
Yeah.
I mean, this is arguably, we say industrials a lot. You can argue for tech, but discretionary, this is as important as any group of stocks, not just in the US, but the world.
Listen, y'all, not to get all economic on y'all, but this is a consumer-driven economy, isn't it? Yeah. Isn't this a consumer economy? That's what I keep being told by the funny mental people.
So this sector, above all other sectors, right, in the global economy, is the largest contributor to global GDP, right? So that alone, you could argue that discretionaries are the most important.
It's a big one. By the way, throw up the Bitcoin chart. This is a great chart, by the way. I'm going to give myself a shout out. It's a great chart. Good job, JC. Excellent job, JC, with this chart. I heard, Spencer, that I did a hell of a job yesterday. Did you hear that?
I thought it was great.
You did?
I thought you guys did great. Yeah.
Did you hear that too?
It was.
I was told that I was told that I did an excellent job.
You did a very good job. Yes, indeed.
You know, I
Yeah.
don't really get those compliments very often. So
Not true.
I don't I you know, sometimes people just take me for granted, you know. They're like, "Oh, they're JC going again." But I actually got some compliments this time, so I appreciate y'all. I thought this was a great chart. Great chart. You know, that
JC,
breakout what?
you timed this crypto event for Bitcoin all-time highs, right? You did this on purpose?
I am not that good. No. It was mostly the design team, and we're mostly on their schedule, to be fair.
Yeah.
But you know, it nothing really changed, right? Like it wasn't like you know, it wasn't like anything changed in the last week. Like what? We hit our short-term target. Great. Gives us something else to talk about, right? That's how I look at it.
Somebody said JC is his biggest fan. I used to think that too, and then I went to Asia, and I had to go all around Asia to 8 different cities, and people wanted to take pictures of me with them because I knew JC. So he's got a lot of fans. It's crazy.
That is hilarious, by the way. Can we I want to show you something funny. You want to see something funny?
Yeah.
Throw up slide 7, Spence. Excuse me, slide 6. This is the old school chart.
This was my favorite.
This was your favorite. So listen, if it was
Yes,
Spencer's favorite, how
because
bad could it be?
That's before we
this was the one.
that's before we even knew how to make our X and Y axes bigger and Optima.
No.
This is going way back.
It's not about that. It's about, I often wish, and I suppose I could do it. I just don't. You know, I wish I could really put myself in the mindset of my past self, right, and go back and really know what it was like. And this chart does that, right? It really helps me put myself into a 2017 mindset.
Yeah.
And what would I have done here? Seriously, what would I have done here?
Well,
This was that famous Thanksgiving moment. Remember?
Oh, well, I'll never.
what
Wasn't that
famous
was yes?
Thanksgiving moment?
It
I'll
was
never
Thanksgiving of
forget that, dude.
2016, November,
No,
December.
the breakout here led to that moment.
Was that 17?
This was early 17.
No.
Yes.
The Thanksgiving that everybody remembers was 17 or 18.
17. It was the end of
16.
Are you guys not fucking
17.
listening to me?
It was
It was the end of 17. This breakout led to that.
He's right, Spencer. It was 17.
Of course I was right. I was trading Bitcoin at the
Whatever.
time. By the
So
way,
was I.
this is old, this is old school because the ticker
Ripple.
symbol that I was using here is XBT USD.
Yep.
So that's how old school this is. By the way, nice base breaking out, obviously. Why don't you go to the next chart and show what today's market looks like? Hey now, how you doing? Come on, give it to me. Give it to me, Spencer.
What, that one?
What do you think, Strazza? Samesies? Go back and forth a couple of times.
Yeah, so that one was an 80% drawdown at the base about. Go back. It's pretty close.
It's pretty damn close, right? It's pretty damn close. Look at the correction that we got, though. Go back to the one from 17.
And both are 3 years. Yeah, 3. Yeah. Dude, those are as close as they get, as close as they come.
But look at that correction when we first kissed the former highs, right? You did get quite the correction from a little bit over 1,000 down to 800. So you got like a 20% correction there.
Yeah. I wish that would happen right now.
It did happen.
No, right now.
Well, we got a 10% correction. Sorry. We got a 10% correction.
Overnight?
Overnight.
No, like, stop going higher for a couple weeks.
Oh.
And let the alts kind of pick up the slack. The thing is, and Louis keeps making this, it's a great point. Maybe we're looking too much at Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. The other ones aren't stretched, right? The other ones aren't overdone like Bitcoin and Ethereum are in the short term, at least. Solana's just now breaking out. You know, Injective, Chainlink, Algo, they all have been sideways for a couple months now, and they don't look like they're very much overbought like some of the blue chips are.
So this is one of the things we were talking about yesterday. I'm also very excited that we're getting alerted. Did you see that 11 cryptocurrencies crossed the $100 million threshold over the last 7 days? Did you know that, Strazza?
Yeah, I like this little alert thing that we're doing.
You like that, huh? Pretty excited about that. So fun fact, 11 cryptocurrencies have crossed the $100 million threshold, entering our universe. Very, very exciting. We talked about the on-chain analytics. Guys, if you missed yesterday's live stream, Spencer, why don't you give the Give the people what they want. Give them what they need. Give them the link. Go check it out. Watch the video. Louis did a hell of a job. I was told that I did an excellent job. Shout out to JC.
You were both fantastic.
Yeah. I actually got a couple of phone calls immediately thereafter. Be like, JC, I think you're onto something. I'm not going to mention any names, but I received 2 phone calls.
All right, the link to watch the stream, it was on YouTube, so the link is in the chat right now, and I'll drop it on Twitter.
Give it a watch, folks. Give it a watch.
Bottom line is, this thing's just getting started in crypto. We're just starting to see that breadth expansion that we really need.
I got a phone call. They're like, "Where'd you find Louis?" My answer was New Zealand. So they're like, "What? You just walking around New Zealand looking for crypto guys?" I'm like, not quite.
We found Louis used to be a lot more active on Twitter, and that's how we found him way back in the day. But this is, what, God, 5 years ago now.
Louis coming up in the farm system. Louis like our Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
Right. Strazza is more like a Louis Soho. You know.
I didn't come up.
We keep him around.
I didn't come up in the farm system. I created the farm system at All Star Charts. I didn't come up in it. I created.
Keep him around. Make sure he gets a ring. You know, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Sure. 25-year-old sport preferences. Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
I'm Joe Torre. That's why.
If you know, you know, right? And I know Spencer knows.
All right. Moving on.
Yeah, let's see. We could do that. We can always do that.
We had a couple. Let's do a couple. I'm gonna call it and say tomorrow. Actually, today, really. Today is kind of like the last day of earnings season between.
Thank God.
Mostly what happens.
Last day of earnings season. How about that?
Mostly for tonight, because tonight is Broadcom and Costco.
Yeah. By the way,
Don Zimmer,
it's going to be earnings season like in a week again. So like I don't know what everybody's so excited about. It's always freaking earnings season.
Let's go banks.
I'm
ready for the banks,
dude. All these companies with their earnings. It's a fugazi.
All right, let's do a couple right now, and then we'll move on. We got to show some love to these mall retailers, man. We got to show them. We had Abercrombie and Fitch the other day. We got American Eagle this morning. Coming in above estimates, growing revenue of 12%, store revenue up 10%, total digital revenue up 19% year over year, comp sales up 6%. AEO, man, these mall retailers keep them coming.
So. I saw a cool chart on the Twitter comparing American Eagle to Abercrombie and Fitch. And obviously these retailers operationally are going to be very different, but the nature of these two businesses are exactly the same. If you grew up in the 90s like I did, you go to the mall, they're right next to each other for a reason, right? Like these are the same businesses. So why wouldn't American Eagle be able to find the same success that Abercrombie and Fitch has stumbled upon these past few years?
Basically,
who is shopping at these stores though? Is it like new teenagers?
Look, it's not just these two. Have you seen? What was it? Let me just make sure.
Is this like the denim thing?
Have you seen Urban Outfitters lately? Same. I mean,
I've never been in an Urban Outfitters. I thought it was a furniture store.
Should be.
Yeah, I don't know who's shopping here, but people is the answer. Not me, not you, definitely not JC.
It's the kids these days.
It is. It's okay.
I suppose, yeah.
With their block and chain and their Abercrombie.
It's not all good. It's not all good on the mall retail front. Today's big disaster is Victoria's Secret, VSCO.
I mean, what a disaster.
Which has been a disaster. This stock only exists because L Brands, which was the company, they spun it off because it was Victoria's Secret. It was dragging him down like an anchor.
You see what happens? You see what happens when you put bras on dudes? This is what happens. You see what happens, Larry? This is what happens.
Absolutely right. Dude.
I don't know.
Do you remember LB back in the day? LB.
No, but I remember getting the Victoria's Secret catalogs when I was a little kid and running to my room with it. You know, like kids these days don't have those experiences.
No, that's fine, Spencer. We can say these things. Speaking of the 90s, back in the 90s, these guys had this market completely dominated. There was no second best. I don't know how they.
There was another one. There was another one that used to come in the mail that was a little bit more risque. Ask the name.
Ask a girl about Victoria's Secret today. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. It's done. It's over. This
No.
is zero.
And I mean, and they're guiding for their own their revenue to fall year over year. I mean, not what you want to see.
Not cool, man.
So
Not cool. And they spun
Hasn't
off the
been-
Bed Bath and Body
No.
Works, right? BBW.
Bath and Body
Batterix
Works,
of
yeah.
Hollywood. That's the one. Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
That was the more
my God.
risque version. I was into that one. 12-year-old JC was
I've
very excited.
Never
with
heard
his
of that.
catalogs.
Never heard of that.
I don't know that one either.
Batterix of Hollywood. I do.
I
See,
know what that
clearly
is.
they all do. I'm not
I-
making this shit up.
Yeah, no, we believe you.
Oh boy.
Batman.
Anyway,
Like,
that actually is pretty much all I had on the earnings front. Just those two. Like I said, we have Costco tonight. That's big. Broadcom is big.
yeah.
There's a couple more reporting today that I guess if you really want to discuss, we can. Like we had BJ's, we had Burlington, Billy. You guys love your Chinese
Billy.
stocks. Talk Billy.
Hey, BJ's is
Billy.
interesting. BJ's is interesting. I continue to find BJ's very interesting. This is basically Costco, but 1/20th or 30th of the size of Costco.
Yeah, smaller scale.
Right?
Yep, smaller
So
scale. Costco.
it's-
That's right.
It's a unsaturated Costco. Costco's already grown all over the country. BJ's is still very regional. If they could follow the Costco game plan, maybe this could be like buying Costco 10, 15 years ago. I don't know. That would be the bull story. I don't hate it.
Yeah, the numbers were okay. They came in a little bit light on the sales, but their comps were good. The guidance was in line, so this is all right. What is the stock doing this morning? It's
Really got the chat going.
uneventful this morning. Okay, let's rein it in here. Rein it in. All right, what else? Let's do one more thing I had on my doc. Let's just do one quick news item. We haven't talked about Novo Nordisk for quite some time on the show. It's been probably a couple months, NVO, but they had some new data this morning. They reported phase 1 data for another obesity drug, amycretin. I hope I'm saying that right. Showed a 13% weight loss in participants after 12 weeks. That is more than twice the efficacy of Wegovy, their other weight loss drug. So there's going to be a phase 2 trial that'll begin later on this year with results expected in 2026. So now we've got not one, but 2 weight loss drugs in the hopper, or at least coals on the fire at Novo Nordisk.
Well, I mean, if you believe that these things are really going to take over the world and be a wonder drug, then yeah, you keep buying this nosebleed of an uptrend.
Can we throw up slide 2, please, while we're on this subject?
We just put along on DaVita dialysis, which is supposed to be a 0 based on the success of these drugs, but it's breaking out to new all-time highs right now. So
What about this guy, Strazza? How do you feel about this?
Oh my lord.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Ozem.
Oh,
Ozem.
yes. Ticker symbol Ozem. Come on. You can't make this shit up. You can't.
Ozem.
How did no one send this to me? How did I miss this?
It was on the research Slack.
Ah,
This is research. This is market research.
wow.
Yup.
That's tremendous.
I can't wait to make these charts. You know what they're
Can't
going to
make this
look
shit
like.
up, dude. You can't make this up, man. So, all right, for those of you who are like, what are they so excited about here? This is a prospectus for a new ETF. It is the Roundhill GLP-1 and weight loss ETF, ticker symbol OZEM. This filed a couple days ago.
This is a disaster. I mean,
Is
wow.
it?
No, what?
Terrible.
No, it's not.
Terrible.
No,
It's
it's
a
not.
disaster because this is signaling the top, is what you're saying. So is this a disaster for shareholders, or is it a disaster for Roundhill? Who's it a
It's
disaster?
another. I love the guys at Roundhill. They're really quick to get these out, but they don't have a good hit rate. And this is going to be another one of those. I love it though. I love it. It's great.
I like this. I would like it a lot more if we also had a weight gain ETF.
Dude, there's 3
Don't know what we'd
stocks.
call that.
There's 3 stocks. Like what? So like, what is the strategy here? Are they going to go short the losers of the GLP-1 thing?
There's more than 3 stocks.
Like, would it be a long short? Yeah, but really, that's fringe stuff. You got Lilly, you got Novo. This Viking Therapeutics, what a runner. That was a freshly squeezed name. I don't know if there's many like pure plays. What are the other ones? What are they?
That's not my prerogative. That's their prerogative. I don't know.
Well,
you
we're
get what
gonna
I'm saying?
know
This
soon.
would work better as a long short, right? You would short like the dialysis diabetes basket and go long the GLP.
Yeah, but that's too hard to sell. You have to explain how there's a short. You know, remember what they're trying to do here. They're trying to raise money. Keep it simple, stupid. Trust me.
That would be the right way to do it.
Yeah, but it's not about doing it the right way. It's about how much money you could raise.
Ozem. That's great.
It's a great ticker.
Awesome.
Tremendous.
Tremendous. Shout out.
All right. Let's bring on Mike Lee.
Please.
All right.
Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Ho, Mr. Mike Lee in the house.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
I was on TV once, like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna be on TV with Mike Lee." I'm like, "Are you shitting me?" I'm like, if you would have told me 20 years ago, I'd be on me, Mike Lee, and Maria Bartiromo. We're gonna be on the. I would have said you're crazy. I would have said you're crazy, and there we are. That was fun.
So when I saw you, it was like Buddy the Elf. I was like, oh, I know him.
I know him. That's hilarious. So Mike Lee and I went to college together. He's a year older. We had some good.
A lot grayer.
A lot what?
A lot grayer.
Yeah, you look good, dude. You're like fighting jujitsu, or I don't know what you're doing. You're like pretty badass these days. You weren't that cool when you were younger. You're way cooler now.
No, but I've always been into hugs. So jujitsu is a lot of hugging. So
That's hysterical. You've always been a wild man. You're definitely more of a badass now, I would say. Not to give you any more kudos, but shout out to Mike Lee. Shout out to Mike Lee. Shout out to Fairfield Rugby. Our mutual friend Jeff Hirsch was at Fairfield U this weekend, actually texting me. He told me he was going to message you as well. His kid is playing rugby over there, so that's fun. Do you still play?
I took off the last 2 seasons. We moved to Florida in 2020, and I played a little bit when I came down here. But I'm gonna be 44 this year. So you're going against.
I wouldn't want to try to tackle you.
Well, dude, but you're going against 24 and 25-year-old Florida boys on the gear, getting smashed up, and so I can play, man. It just takes me 2 weeks to recover instead of a day or two.
Right. Fair. All right. So why don't you tell the folks a little bit about from which perspective you approach the market? Tell them about your day job, right? Because we're all looking at markets, but we all look at the market through a different lens, from a different perspective, from a different time horizon. Why don't you explain to folks from which lens you view markets?
Yeah. I've been around a while. I started at kind of like a stock brokerage in New York City. When we were at Fairfield, I was commuting to New York City, got my licenses there, then worked in Merrill Lynch for a while, and then Morgan Stanley for a long time. And then I'm mostly focused on high net worth individuals and creating efficient portfolios. So risk adjusted versus a benchmark, right? And so trying to get my up capture better than my down capture, right? And managing against a benchmark per client, and trying to beat that, not necessarily on an absolute return basis, but bang for your buck. So if you have the S&P's up 10 and the vol's 15, I want to be somewhere in the 7 to 9% with a 10 to 12 vol. So so just less motion in the ocean with some of the I'm trying to control beta versus generate alpha. That being said, I run it through tactical asset allocation models using ETFs, but given the concentration in some of these sectors, I'm just about, instead of using XLY, I'm just going to use Amazon, as my conduit for that ETF. So I am looking at trade ideas because I just started my own little newsletter business because I look at this stuff. And for a while at Morgan Stanley was doing equity research sales to smaller hedge funds. So I've always looked for trade ideas, read a lot of the technical stuff, even though I'm hardly a technician. But so for example, right now, the last 18 months, you're starting to recover, but leading economic indicators look like 2008, right? Some of the manufacturing numbers, and that has not materialized whatsoever. So the question is why hasn't the market fallen out of bed, given all these bad signs that we've seen, tightening in the liquidity market, and there's banking issues. So like the 10-year treasury is 4.25, which means a 30-year mortgage should be around 6%. You're looking at a 10-year plus 175. Okay, it's almost like it's between 50 and 150 basis points higher, depending on the day, depending on the type of mortgage you want. But there's a lot of excess spread, which to me says, in the plumbings of banking, there are some real underlying issues going on in the market. So I was a little bit nervous, and I kind of missed, the first 6 months of last year in terms of AI. But right now, 55% of my equity portfolios are split between XLC and XLK. So tech and communications, and then like a little bit of healthcare, a little bit of industrials, a little bit of gold, and then I'll always have a percentage in TLT in my equity portfolios, which has been a kick in the for the time being. But it's the only asset that gives you a perfect -1 correlation to equities in time of crisis. And outside,
not in 22.
Well, it was the sell-off in TLT that led to the sell-off in equities. But that's like a once in like a 30 or 40-year storm. And so you can, I used to work with this guy, and he's a Boston guy, and he used to say, you can prepare for you're always preparing for the last 100-year storm, even though it's not coming for another 100 years. Yep. Right. But it's, when you look at it on a longer term basis, and you look at the efficient frontier, which is how I build my portfolios, move your portfolio up and to the left. And so I've been a little bit over allocated to that, but in 22, I was like 25% XLE. So I had like a pretty substantial year of outperformance, even with the position in TLT. And over time, when there's these exogenous events, TLT will spike as equities come down. It gives you a nice cushion to clients. And the long-term correlation between the S&P 500 and the long bond is like a 0.2. So you get a lot of positive returns from the two simultaneously. And then you have these shocks where stocks sell off and then TLT rallies. But it has been ugly the last couple of years.
I want to ask you a couple questions in terms of positioning, right? You talked about a lot of allocation, XLK, XLC, so a lot of technology communications. Hedge funds are very much positioned that way as well. Does it bother you at all how crowded the trade you're in is in, or are you looking longer term? So the short term concentration there is not a concern. Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, so no, it terrifies me.
Fair.
But look, so you talk about the Magnificent Seven and the outperformance they had last year, and to me, that screams like a crappy economy. Because if you think about a Netflix, your Netflix is now your new Procter and Gamble, right? It is a consumer staple. This is not a cyclical company. This is not a high flying tech stock. Right. It is, everybody is paying that monthly subscription to Netflix. The more they crack down on passwords and then adding things like ads to them. So the ads on Amazon Prime for football get 3 times the revenue, or they cost 3 times as much to the advertisers as do the ones on CBS and Fox and ESPN, because you have a captive audience.
Yeah. Right.
And so that's like, these are incremental things. And so and then obviously you have the NVIDIA story, and like this NVIDIA is just it's just unbelievable. And like at first you become like a naysayer, and then you realize, well, if what Jensen Huang is saying, and they do need to there needs to be a wholesale GPU upgrade across all the data centers worldwide to this new computing speed and computing power. Like NVIDIA could like double or triple from here over the next couple of years. That's iffies, right? There's a lot of caveats in that statement, but this AI is going to be the largest technological upgrade in the history of the world, right?
Go ahead. The way these guys are growing right now, and this thing is just getting started, I find it hard to believe that we look back a year, 2, 3 years from now, and NVIDIA is not the largest company in the entire market. I don't know how the others keep up.
Yeah, well, look, they just have a step ahead, and you need this product. I think what happens is you have this upgrade cycle, and the upgrade cycle slows down because the jump from where everybody is to where everybody needs to be right now is massive, and that'll get smaller over time. So, how much of this kind of like slows down, but NVIDIA's now, their story is going to be like, well, we're going to get into services. So like Apple, we got a billion whatever iPhones out there. Now we're going to, like put a VIG on everything in the App Store and like, that's services for everybody that doesn't understand the term. You're basically, just taxing everybody that builds stuff to sell things.
So you're kind of saying like, how much are we kind of pulling forward here? Because there's a huge startup cost, right? To just outfit your business to be an AI business, right? And that's what NVIDIA is seeing with this growth right now. Everybody's doing like the big initial capital outlay. How much do they have to spend every year in the future is really the big question that I don't think analysts or anybody could really put their finger on. But you need to answer that question to come up with any good sort of valuation for NVIDIA.
Yeah, so it's and how big does the services component become of this business? Right. But it's like, it's just wild to think NVIDIA stock on a forward-looking PE multiple basis is cheaper now than it was a year ago or 2 years ago, and it's it's like $1,000. And then the other stock that I think I talked about last time I was on here was ASML,
the Dutch master.
So
yes,
good. Yeah.
If you see that movie Real Genius with Val Kilmer, I don't know if anybody remembers that movie with the 80s where they're like making the lasers that go across the room. That's what I like to think about with ASML, because that's what, to me, like when I hear EUV lithography explained to this simple rugby man, that's what I think about. That stock's a four-digit stock now. Legal monopoly. And then like, if you like want to bet on Trump winning the election, Taiwan semi is your bet, because like there's no way China invades Taiwan. Okay. And that's an overhang on that stock. And it's, just so people know, like all these chips, like, so everything for NVIDIA is designed in California and it's put together in Taiwan. And that's the same for like using ASML machinery. Yep. So that is, that's another name I'm looking at. But this, I think everyone got excited with these Fed rate hikes coming and the prediction of 6 rate hikes, and that kind of led to our rally off October. Okay, now that that's dissipated, the broadening out of the rally where small caps and mid caps are ripping, I think that goes by the wayside, because like I don't see this economic growth. I don't see the super strong consumer that a lot of people talk about. And if like we're creating a new $1 trillion in debt every 100 days, which is ironic because it took the country 200 years to create the first $1 trillion in debt. Now we do it every 100 days. Okay, that's going to accelerate. And so for anybody that is a nerd like me and they've been looking on the CBO website, they're predicting a like 10 to 12% increase in government revenue this year. And a lot of that has to do with the enhanced enforcement at the IRS. And like, the IRS must think that there's like all these tax cheats out there, but I can tell you, I get at least 200 people ready to do their taxes every single year. And the hurdles and hoops that these people jump through to get ready for their taxes, like very few people are cheating on their taxes. Maybe people do them wrong or they don't report correctly, but there's no way on earth the IRS is going to collect an extra $500 billion in revenue this year from enhanced enforcement, which means, and we're tracking down between 7 and 8% in revenue, which means the deficit is going to be $2.25 trillion, $2.5 trillion in a time of expansion. Okay, and like with the ETFs, and boom, here comes the Bitcoin.
You don't fix our fiscal issue by collecting more taxes, right? Or having an IRS that's trying to enforce the tax code in a stronger way. There are much bigger issues with the deficit that need to be addressed. You're not going to do it by collecting taxes.
But yes, that's like there's like entire think tanks in DC to talk about that. Right. But for the purpose of this conversation, the difference between the bid and the ask could be 20%. Like the CBO and Congress are spending money, like $5 trillion is going to come in roughly, and it's going to be closer to 4, in my opinion. That's $1 trillion gap, and like they're already predicting a 1.6 or 1.7 trillion dollar deficit. That's a big. That's so as as that gets realized, I think your bull case to Bitcoin plays out. Because like I don't know if you guys remember when quantitative easing came out. We're a little bit older. It was quite controversial, and now it's like everybody does it.
It's a way of life, Mike.
Hold on the deficit stuff. When I was in college, I read a book called IOUSA. I think it was the Pete Peterson Foundation. The man who had wrote it was the former Comptroller General of the United States of America. So obviously someone who knows a lot about this stuff. The point I'm making is that was almost 20 years ago. And it was a big, big problem. And this guy was doing tours all around America telling people about how the deficit was going to destroy the economy. We're 20 years into this thing, and it hasn't mattered. I know it probably matters one day, but is there not a chance that we just keep on kind of whistling through the graveyard for a while? And
Strazza, I think we're getting there like right now.
Yeah.
It's like over the last year.
And
right?
Higher rates really kind of makes it more urgent.
Well, look, it's like, Keynesian economic theory that, they thought with this infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, all this stuff would really stimulate the economy. But I'm of the camp that there is no multiplier to government spending. Right. So it's like, and listen, I did not get a perfect score on my math SATs, but I actually got pretty close, which is surprising if you have a conversation with me.
But explain what you mean by the multiplier effect. Just
to take a step back though, but we're for every dollar of GDP growth, we're spending $2.50 in debt. Okay. That is not a good number. And like the multiplier effect. So like if the government spends $1 trillion on infrastructure, like versus, 5 or 6, 100 different manufacturing companies spending $1 trillion on building plants and products, like the multiplier from the government, especially on infrastructure, we have roads and bridges everywhere. Yes, they need to be upgraded, but it's not going to be like, okay, so we build a bridge between A and B, and all of a sudden cities pop up all along the way, and you have all this industry because of it. Like there is no real multiplier to government spending. And like one of my favorite economists, Brian Westbury, says it the best, that like you think of GDP as this pie, right? And government as a percentage of it. So if you have the private sector and you have the government sector. So if the private sector is growing at 5% and the government is 20% of the overall economy, overall GDP grows at 4% because the government adds nothing. Okay. So if the government's 50%, okay, and the private sector grows at 5%, now that's 2.5% GDP growth. And the fact of the matter is, it just, the bigger the government gets, the more crowds out the private sector, the more productivity you lose, like everything kind of becomes a mess. And like it's now, we're here now where the interest on this debt and like it's like I kind of relate everything back to movies. So it's like Fat Bastard saying like, I eat because I'm sad because I eat. Okay. We have inflation because the government spent too much money. Okay. And because we have inflation, we have higher interest rates. Because we have higher interest rates, the government has to spend more money, which means we're going to have higher inflation rate, higher inflation. It's like a vicious cycle. So that's a long way of saying, like, I still think like the mega caps are just going to keep getting bigger because Apple has a balance sheet that's better than like almost every single country in the world, including maybe the US, and they have better access to capital.
We're earning interest, not paying it. People don't realize that about these mega caps. Rates go higher, they're making money. They're not paying it.
So it's that's why I'm scared that I'm like in this crowded trade. But on the other side, like I can't like
what else are you gonna be in? Yeah.
The trend of 2023, what's different underlying in 2024?
How about financials or industrials though? Like you say, tech, communications, that was the playbook last year, continues to be the right playbook this year, but industrials, there's something there. I know that's more economy stock stuff. So based on what you're saying, you might want to stay away from those groups.
Yeah. So like so I own industrials, man, never sell new highs. So like GE is like back from the dead.
Monster. Hey, Fairfield guys.
Where'd you grow up, Mike?
Richfield, Connecticut.
I knew that.
Hey.
I knew that.
Should have known. I should have known. Rugby guy, Ridgefield, of course.
Golf. Golfing.
What's that?
Golf.
Like I go out there to drink beer, but like if I have free time, I'm like,
You're too jacked. Like you're too jacked to play golf.
yeah, dude.
How do you
I
swim?
hurt my neck playing high school football, and like I can't track the ball in my backswing, and I've like figured that out after taking my kids to occupational therapy. So like occasionally, like I'll hit a drive like 300 yards, but like 99% of the time, it's like I like swing and miss.
That's great.
But like I'll eventually get that fixed because I like it's my goal in life to be my older brother because I can chip and putt.
It
You know
sounds like
that that 180 no longer exists. The Sea Grape at Fairfield kept them in business for all these years. 180 no longer in business.
Vodka 180.
180 and vodkas. That's
The,
right. We
the
were getting a
Busch
couple
Light of Red Bull.
the Busch Light of Red Bull. Wow, with a little hint of Sunkist.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, but
That used to be the drink in Fairfield 25 years
Great.
ago. You'd order a 180 and vodka. 180 was like an energy drink that looked like Sunkist and tasted like Sunkist. And the only place in the world you could get it was at the Sea Grape in Fairfield, and everybody would drink 180 and vodkas and black out.
Basically like a Red Bull vodka.
Like a Red Bull and vodka that tasted like Sunkist,
Got it. Okay. Weird.
which was lovely when you're 19 years old. You went, by the way, Mike, Strazza got his master's at Fairfield.
No, I know, and he's a Trumbull guy.
Yeah. Spent a lot of time.
Those Trumbull guys, I'll tell you, there's a mall there.
Fairfield County, FCAC, baby. FCAC.
Greatest conference ever.
What? I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what you're talking about. You lost me.
You got good sports.
That was our high school athletic conference.
Richfield
Fairfield
used to
County.
win what?
Fairfield County Interscholastic Athletic Conference.
Yes.
God, you guys are reliving your glory days. All right. Mike Lee, ladies and gentlemen, tell the folks where they can find you.
Yeah, so
Not on a golf course.
My newsletter, we're like I have some good ideas. I see Wilton High School in the chat. There we
Wilton.
go. So Mike Lee on the Market just started like a newsletter for people that don't like want to give me $2 or $3 million to invest for them and do their retirement planning. And then my firm is Michael Lee Strategy. And if you watch Fox Business, you'll see my slightly rotund face there constantly.
Are you going to be on with Clayman this afternoon? I'll be there.
No, that's I do some Charles Payne.
You're lucky because I was going to abuse you. So you're lucky. You're better off, Mike. You're better off, buddy.
Then, but mostly Varney and Maria.
Cool.
So,
all right.
Good for you, Mike.
Amazing, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. Adios.
See you soon. Look at this. Blast from the past. Wilton, shout out. What else we got in here? West Hill. That's Norwalk, right? Or Stanford? West Hill, Stanford? Staples. All teams that used to whoop us in lacrosse. Besides West Hill. But definitely the others.
No Bridgeport University out there? A little University of Bridgeport, a little UB action? Nobody? Nothing? No takers?
We didn't play
UB had a decent soccer team. Didn't UB have a decent soccer team?
It was dangerous.
It was dangerous. We didn't go there. I did get jumped there once. I got my ass kicked. My freshman
I know
year.
West Hill.
That was no good.
Yeah, don't go there. West Hill Vikings. I know the nice big field. Been there for sure. Lovely, really good. Love Stanford.
Spencer's never been to Connecticut in his life. I took Spencer to Norwalk. He's like, this is Connecticut. Okay.
No. One time we did run out of gas in like East Hartford.
Which is lovely this time of year.
No, not the place you want to run out of gas, right, Strazza?
No.
Wait. Was it East or West? Whichever.
Doesn't matter. You don't want to run out of gas either way.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, moving on.
UConn Law School's up there.
All right. A couple other headlines I want to rip through real quick. New York Community Bank had a day of days yesterday. Look at that. We got the chart.
Steve Mnuchin, not a name that you've heard in a while, right? The Nooch.
Yeah, that's true. He's been out of the headlines, so he's leading
Trump's lawyer.
He was Trump's Secretary of Treasury. He's leading a consortium of investors that includes Hudson Bay Capital. It includes Citadel, with a $1 billion investment / rescue package, really, in this bank. So look at that candle from yesterday. That's what happens on days where rumors get out that you need money and you're a bank. So this story appears to maybe be temporarily over. Now they got some fresh capital, and I don't know what happens next, but we'll see. Wild day. Elsewhere, Bloomberg
Hold on, though.
reporting, yes.
The action in the regional banks yesterday, despite the NYCB capital raise, very encouraging. I think I was on Spaces at like 3 o'clock, so the market hadn't quite closed yet. There's about 140 components in KRE, the regional banking index. About 115 of them were green on the day.
That is
So,
interesting.
You remember, March of last year when Silicon Valley tried to raise some capital, there was a bank run, and all the banks were down 10, 15, some 30%.
Well, hold on. When you said green on the day, New York Community Bank was green on the day.
Yeah.
I'm saying the whole space was.
Yeah. The whole space, it was down on the day yesterday for regional banks, but not down what it should have been, I think is Strazza's point. Basically
Regional
flat
banks,
on the day.
Oh, they were slightly lower. Yeah, okay. So they must have sold into the close, but just the
but to your point, still relentless. And, on a relative basis, I've been pointing this out, regional banks breaking down on a relative basis to large caps relative to small caps. That's not historically a good sign for the overall market. If regional banks could dig in here, particularly for small caps, because you got 230 of these banks in the Russell 2000 or something crazy. So if you're looking for a small cap rally, you really want to see these bank stocks getting going. They certainly got going in November, right? Really got going in November, and look what small caps did. You got look at this. In November, regional banks rallied. Man, regional banks rallied almost 50%. You had a 45% ripper or something like that in regional banks in the fourth quarter. That's very impressive. So,
and Dawson makes a comment. This needs to be really clear to everybody. Regional banks will not go bankrupt. They now cannot. That's what happened last year. That's why it was such a big deal. That's why we talk so much about it. They can't not save a regional bank now. The government can't do it. A political disaster.
Community bank, different story, but regional bank.
New York Community Bank is a regional.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying community banks as a category, different story.
They're going to save the communities too. Know why? Because it won't be hard to do. It won't cost much, and you just don't. You don't want the narrative that, you saved Silicon Valley, you saved these guys, but not us poor farmers. It's not ever going to happen. Banks are done going under in the United States, and the entire way that this industry group is going to work going forward from a regulatory standpoint has changed forever, and the rest of the world hates us for it, by the way.
Because now that's why they hate us.
Shareholders can still get wiped out, right?
They don't hate us in Japan.
The shareholders of Signature and Silicon Valley got wiped out.
A bank failure is not going to be a situation where any depositor loses money, is all I'm saying.
That's very, yes.
That's that for somebody who knows nothing, I would agree with that.
Depositors aren't going to lose anything.
Shareholders, nobody cares about the shareholders. Certainly not the bondholders either.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Screw them all.
We all agree.
Not the citizens. The citizens win. The investors lose. That's
like the FDIC limits are so worthless. Just don't even pay attention to that number. The uninsured deposits will be fine also. They can't do it differently.
Yeah, it's only like $500,000. Anything more than $500,000 not insured. That's not good.
It's $250,000.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
What's the point of having a limit on what's insured and saying this is uninsured when shit hits the fan, they get saved anyway? Like,
so let's say you have $5 million in cash. Now you need to open 20 bank accounts. Like, that's ridiculous.
No,
Austin's right. Unlimited FDIC for forever.
It depends on if there's like more people on the account, then the limit goes up. There's some other things there. I was talking about this.
That's not the point.
I know.
I mean, what are you going to do with $250,000?
I know.
And it will be interesting to see if SIPC is used in the same way. The next time one of these broker dealers blows up, I really, really wonder if you have funds at that broker in excess of the SIPC limit. Are you okay?
Yeah,
because that's now going to be a thing too.
Remember, there was that very, very brief panic in Charles Schwab a couple years. Was it last year or the other? It was, yeah. Very strange.
That was Spencer. That was in March of last year.
Was it?
I don't know. During the regional banking crisis.
Sure. Yeah, probably. Fun fact: I was talking about this with my dad over the weekend. Apparently, my parents were involved in a bank run in the '80s in Maryland. So bank runs, never a good thing.
Which bank? Do you remember?
It was a small Maryland bank. Well, no, actually, no, it wasn't. It was Chevy Chase Bank, which was at the time, I think, the largest bank in Maryland.
Chevy Chase Bank, and you're wondering why? What went wrong?
Is it Chevy Chase's bank?
No, Chevy Chase is a town in Maryland. It's called Chevy Chase.
After Chevy Chase?
No.
So Chevy
And
Chase is named
I think
after
if
the
you
town
have
of
an
Maryland.
account, I think if you have an account at Chevy Chase Bank, you deserve to lose all your money.
That
Chevy
should
Chase
not
Bank
be
was
FDIC
Capital One. Capital One bought it like 10 years ago, but now they're here nor there. Okay. Yeah, and he was telling me at the time, Maryland was on their own. They were like one of two states that were on their own bank insurance. They were not part of FDIC. They had their own separate insurance fund, and it got drained.
That's never good.
It got
Hey.
drained like immediately, and then
Are we good with earnings, Spencer?
we're good. We're done with earnings. I got a couple of headlines real quick. I want to rip through.
I'm good with banks.
Bloomberg reporting that Apollo is sniffing around TripAdvisor, TIRP, maybe interest for a takeover there. Comores, we talked about Comores last week. Remember they put a bunch of people on a leave and maybe
Up
some
like
financial
70%.
Right. The first findings of their review found that their executives manipulated vendor payments and some receivables to meet their free cash flow targets for last year. And that's pretty much all that they found. So the rest of the financials appear to be in order. It was just a free cash flow manipulation there. So the stock is up a lot on that news today.
Just some free cash
yeah.
manipulation. That's all. Nothing to see here.
No big deal. ADT doing an offering, 65 million share offering at $6.50 a share. And that was it for my list. Oh yeah, this has been on the dock all week, and I haven't gotten around to it. Strazza, thought you'd find this interesting. I read this over the weekend. ESG is now transition investing. I don't know if you saw that from BlackRock. BlackRock is talking about investing in a transition, investing in things that in climate infrastructure, basically, right? That's the idea. Climate infrastructure, and
because they have to pivot from it's here, we're off fossil fuels and all these old
Right.
ways to we're gonna get there one day. Right.
So it's not ESG; it's just transition. We're transitioning to something, and
Stay away from these people. They're always selling something.
You know what? I'm in favor of it because Wall Street understands that there are people who are so dumb that they're just gonna burn their money thinking that by losing money in their portfolio they're gonna save the world. And
They're gonna go to heaven.
if people are dumb enough to believe that, good for Wall Street. Give them a vehicle in which to blow up their money. Good for them. Good for Wall Street.
Just constantly confusing people.
Do you imagine being so dumb that you think that having a diversified board or something is going to increase shareholder value, or like, can you imagine how dislocated from reality you have to be?
Very simple. If it does, it does, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But the numbers will decide. That's it.
Good for Wall Street. Wall Street wins again. Good for them.
Hey, what's going on here today, JC? Apple's up?
That can't be so.
I think the market opened 3 minutes ago, Strazza. So maybe you should settle down. Apple's up 24 basis points.
Tesla too? Google too?
I think the market opened 3 minutes ago. Are we really talking about how Apple?
There's a lot of green on my screen. Should we do a little rundown?
Yeah, let's do a quick little rundown. Dow futures up 200 points, which translates into 0.5%. The S&P 500 up 30 handles, about 50 basis points. NASDAQ 100 leading the way here today, 130 points, up 70 basis points on the day. 30-year bond futures remain up about 1/3% for 30-year bond futures. Silver flat, gold flat, copper up 1%, oil down 1%. And then you've got the dollar mix with the yen absolutely ripping. Nikkei getting hammered. That's what stands out to me.
And yields continue to kind of just slowly drip lower, which is a good thing.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah,
I want to talk about Uncle Warren YOLOing more of this Liberty Media. But what do we think about these inflation-protected treasuries continuing to outpace nominal yielding treasuries? What is that pricing in for inflation? Down slightly today, kind of a mess over the last few weeks, but to me, that's front and center. Oil continuing to remain elevated. You would think that if the bond market is pricing in higher inflation, you're getting higher crude oil, you would think that interest rates would be following along, particularly the 10-year yield. You have not seen that.
Yeah.
Not in the last couple of weeks, I should say, more specifically.
And again, like I keep talking about it, but developed Europe. Lower again today.
developed Europe.
Yeah.
So what? EW, like what were you using for developed Europe?
No yields. So like Germany
Yields.
France,
Sorry.
France 10, Spain, Spain 10s.
And to Strazza's point, European yields, foreign yields across the board have been a great leading indicator for the United States. If you're wondering where U.S. rates are going, look at rates around the world.
Yep. These biotechs really just keep trending really well. I was just looking at some of the details on this NYCB capital raise.
Mhm.
You know what they got? Think about it.
They got preferreds.
What did they get? Nope, better than preferreds.
They got debt.
What does Uncle Warren get when he goes into crisis mode?
Warrants?
Yeah, they got the warrants.
Yeah, so it's like a perpetual preferred. It's like what Uncle Warren did with Goldman Sachs in the GFC.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Why not?
JC, I have a sentiment headline for you. Sentiment check.
What do you got? What do you got? Give it to me.
This is a headline on CNN.com today. There's a gold rush on Wall Street, and they were talking about gold. So,
well,
take that for what it's worth.
I didn't know CNN talked about the stock market.
Gold is a tough one from a sentiment perspective because everybody always writes about it. Everybody likes to talk about it. It's like a buzzword. People like to hear about gold. People get very emotional about gold. So I always find it hard to read from a sentiment perspective because there's always people loving gold, even when it's not working for like a decade at a time. You agree?
Yeah, you're probably right.
People love gold. Like this thing could be slowly just falling to zero, and there's gold bugs everywhere.
Yeah, CNN talking about it. It's not that exciting. Talk to me about when The Economist brings it up. Talk to me about when you have small specs loaded up. Talk to me when they're launching new gold ETFs. Like, that's more what I'm interested in, not a CNN's headline.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Noted. Duly noted.
Oh,
noted.
The EU did an interest rate thing.
No, they did not do an interest rate thing.
What is this?
They specifically did not do.
Oh yeah, but they had right. They kept it. They kept it the same. 4 or 5.
Right.
Can we talk about Uncle Warren YOLOing this Liberty Media and what that means?
Yeah, let's do it.
So hot right now.
What are we thinking here?
LSXMA.
The slide is a slide 4, Spencer.
So this is a stock that we don't buy, but Uncle Warren is, and there's like 8 of these Liberty Media companies, all with 5 letters in their ticker symbol.
Can you tell a dummy like me what these people own? What's going on here?
We know what this is now. No. We do know what this is now.
What is it?
I think One Hole explained it last time around. Whenever last time we had this.
This is Liberty's stake in Sirius XM, correct?
This is the Sirius Radio, the Sirius XM channels that Liberty owns, right? So yes, it's basically the Formula One, more or less, the Formula One Sirius channels. Is how
the organizational tree of these Liberty companies is quite the shit show.
That's by design.
Yeah, of course, right. It's like it's a fun structure. But yeah, Uncle Warren. I saw his name on the list and I got excited. I said, "Ooh, more Oxy." And then I saw that it was Liberty, and I said, bummer. So the one that really stands out to me, though, unless you guys have more on this.
Well, I'm curious to see which one stands out to you. I'll tell you which one stands out to me.
JB Hunt. So these are the stocks that are working right now. JB Hunt. I got it as integrated shipping and logistics. This is a trucker, no? But this is one of those industrial bases that we've seen break out over.
Morgan says they do a bunch of stuff. I've asked her.
Okay, so integrated, then that works. 218, those early 2022 highs. That's your level, and we've seen chart after chart look like this in industrials, and they break out and they keep running, and price targets get hit. So I don't see why JB Hunt would be any different. That's my favorite from today.
$1 million. This particular gentleman, Patrick Otemsmeyer. This is the former president of Kansas City Southern, FYI. So I would argue he knows a thing or two about these massive transportation companies. Right?
Yeah.
See that? See what I did there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's in the know. Former president of KSU. They got the company acquired. I mean, I don't know. Sounds like a winner to me. He's putting up $1 million. $1 million. It's not nothing.
No,
Right?
this one stands out for sure.
Yardstick on the JB Hunt. It's not nothing. What about Sphere? So the your boy Dolan.
Not interested.
I don't understand why you're not interested in this. You throw up my chart. My chart's better, Spencer. Slide 2 there. Why do you not care that Dolan is buying this? Because are you traumatized because you're a Knicks fan, or do you?
Oh, just think about this. What's the total addressable market here? What are the business risks? Right?
Oh,
There's a
here we
big
go.
party in Las Vegas. They do well one weekend. There's another pandemic. This is maybe a zero. Like this.
They're
also
going to
an
open one in New York.
It's also an advertising play, Steve.
I don't
It's
need
just-
this.
It's advertising.
I would love to go. Probably to see anybody except for you two. I think that would be a blast.
Why do you not like you too?
I can't. You can pay me to go see you two.
Wow.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Steve.
Like,
wow.
God, dude.
Hating on you two.
As cool as the videos are, I'm like showing Rose and watching them in mute because I just can't. I don't want to hear it.
Wow.
I would go to the Grateful Dead one with Kenny though. That sounds like a blast.
Well, go to a concert with Kenny is always a good time. What about the Ion Q? So Harry L.U. $1 million on the Ion Q. You know, Ion Q trades warrants.
Oh, this is a warrant name? Hey now.
This is a warrant name. It trades warrants. I don't know how liquid they are, but they do exist.
Oh, I see them. They're trading at about $3 today.
Oh, Strazza's excited. Strazza's like, oh, warrants.
Yeah. We still got to get that warrants list. I got to call my broker. Got 2 things for him now.
No, nothing on the Ion Q. Throw up slide 2, Spencer.
Why
Down towards support.
why was Ion Q relevant? I forget. They did something.
Yeah, this was a name at one point that people talked about, right, Spencer?
It was a
I
SPAC.
forget
It was a
why.
SPAC. It literally SPAC'd in the fall of 21, peaked with everything else, got slaughtered,
Okay.
bottomed out at the end of 22, and then in 2023, when you had the squeeze of all those shitty SPACs and they all squeezed, this thing went up. Thing went up 8 times. This was an 8-bagger and has really been consolidating since the fall. And we're down here near support.
Got it.
And that's what happened. That's just facts. Facts only.
Was there merger news this morning, or did I dream something about Splunk?
Splunk?
Splunk. Not that I saw. Let me look real fast.
What part of the cycle are we in when we're talking about Splunk?
Did I
I think
dream
they got
this
bought
morning?
out. Didn't they get bought out?
Yeah,
I
isn't it
don't
like
think it, I
closing
don't
or
think it
something?
happened. Did it happen already? Oh yeah, it may have
I don't
happened.
know.
There might be an ARB trade or something like that, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, I don't think it closed yet. Let me see.
Yeah,
What
Dawson's right. It looks like it got bought out. So
Yeah.
Look how it's traded.
yeah,
Cisco,
then
pretty sure,
it,
right?
then it didn't close yet, but yeah, that's happening.
Why don't we bring in Shawnee Baby so we could talk about communism?
What?
Yeah, long communism, short capitalism. Let's talk about that trade.
Oh, I got
You
it.
guys.
Yeah, you guys. Shawnee.
I'm checking in from the Red Front here, your communist expert. Hey, no, before we get into that, see this cup of coffee here? I was drinking this cup of coffee this morning, minding my own business, having a good time, listening to you, listening to the fun banter between you and Strazza. And then you said that thing about the 12-year-old JC who grabs an issue of Victoria's Secret and goes off to his bathroom. I
I said
spilled this cup
bedroom.
of coffee.
I said bedroom.
I spilled this cup of coffee on my desk because I was laughing so hard when you said that.
Those are the good old days, you know, when little boys got what they wanted. Now they're putting dudes on with bras. Like, that's no good, right? And see what happens? You see what happens? Look at the stock, right? Shareholders are punishing you for doing dumb shit.
That I did not know about the dudes in the bras. That's interesting. What a world we live in.
Well, they don't live in that world anymore. See what happens? So let's talk about communism.
Okay.
Started, you know, there's a trade that interests me. That is the China is not going to zero. Right? Is that funny?
Look, I did it again. I almost spilled coffee on myself. I did spill coffee on myself.
I am
Jesus.
hilarious today. Who's funnier than me?
Man, you're killing it. You're killing me.
I am so funny today. So anyway, not a joke. Actually true. The China is not going to zero trade. That's literally what it is it not?
That's a bet we're making.
Right.
if you want to be
So-
if you want to be literal.
Yeah, that's the bet we're making, easing into it, right? Dipping our toe in, if you will, right? Just just a little bit, right? See how it feels. And then maybe we get filled at lower prices. Maybe as we get filled in lower prices, those put options start getting a little more juicy. We could sell those too, right? Like this is like like a way of life, like potentially, putting on this long communism, short capitalism sort of situation. Even Strazza agrees that short the S&P 500 against other trades is starting to make a lot more sense. This is one of those. Doesn't mean you have to be short S&Ps against it. You could just be long the China and starting to dip into that. So you want to talk a little bit about that mentality, sort of from an execution standpoint. Explain to those who don't know, why are the premiums getting juicier on the puts as we're getting filled at lower prices on the calls?
Yeah. So the instrument that we are using is FXI, right? That's the China large caps. And one thing that we did with this trade and it's not something I do a whole lot, not because I disagree with it. It's just not my main thing. But we're kind of legging into this trade, or we're hoping to leg into this trade. We've kind of drawn a line in the sand in FXI. No, we're not holding it to zero if China does go to zero, but we put in a pretty significant low back in what was it, early January, right around just shy of 21, just below 21 in the FXI, and that feels like a pretty good level to lean against. Although that's not I'm being a little bit more aggressive. I'm using 22 as my line in the sand. And the thought process here is this is a bottom. Bottoms can be a process, and this could be up and down and a little bit sloppy over the next few weeks. And we're going to put that to our advantage by legging into a long position. So we put the first tranche on about a week ago. We bought a little bit more 2 days ago what's today? Today's Thursday. So on Tuesday, FXI had a down day. We got filled on our second tranche at a lower price. Again, predetermined prices. I've got limit orders in. I've had limit orders in for the last 2 weeks, just waiting for it, just waiting to buy it down at lower prices as a defined plan. That's what I want. So my thinking, JC, we've talked about this, is that if this thing takes off right away, faster than we think it will, it'll suck if it takes off without us having our full position on. But maybe we have a partial position that we took no heat on. That's a problem I'll take any day, right? A smaller position, but I took no heat, great. Or if thing chops around, the options that we're buying decay in value a little bit as time goes away and as premiums come in and volatility comes in. Maybe we get the options at better prices and we finally get filled on all three tranches, and so that we have a full position on. And great, that's the risk we originally accepted up front, and then we go from there and see if we nailed this bottom. But we're just taking our time, because look, this is it's kind of like we're talking about an entire economy turning around, right? Yeah. We are not economists. I'm not an economist. We like to pretend to be economists once in a while, but that's not our bread and butter. But the bet we're making is that maybe the narrative of China falling apart and going away is a little bit overblown here, and maybe there's a trade for those of us willing to take a little bit of risk and take a little bit of heat. And who knows? Let's see how the chips fall.
What's the time frame on this?
January next year, bro.
Yeah, love it.
10 months. 10 months.
Great. Plenty of time. Things are perking up in emerging markets and in Asia. So I like the setup.
Dude, that's C Limited.
Yeah. Great.
Baby. In fact, let's talk about C Limited for a second. Not because we want to take a victory lap on a trade that we're in.
You were worried. We had a funky candle.
Well, no.
Candle this week.
No, let's talk about C Limited, because C Limited actually was a big reason why we liked this China trade, why we talked about getting into FXI, because we saw what was happening with C Limited. And that was kind of a signal that, hey, maybe things in the South Seas of China are starting to perk up a little bit. These satellite companies that are countries that are all very heavily dependent on the Chinese economy, right? If China falls, these other countries are going to suffer too, right? So,
100%. And the charts reflect it, Sean, right?
Right. So we saw what C Limited was doing. We're in a position that we've been in it for a little while now, and it's working. And we said, well, hey, maybe this means there's a trade here in China overall, and that's kind of what got us, or at least gave me confidence to put this trade on in FXI.
I like it. I think we continue to find more and more vehicles that we are willing or interested in buying coming out of the China, Southeast Asia universe. And C Limited, to see this one kind of be one of the earlier leaders, and I know it's just starting, but this thing's been just a moonshot higher since mid-January. This is as consumer facing as you'll find anything, at least outside of China, right? This is really their Amazon. So
do we have a chart of C Limited?
Bodes well for like the broader markets out there. SE chart, I got one. Fonz probably has one we could throw up quick. But that gap we got through, isn't that where we were kind of getting involved, Sean? Right around like 45? Once we started filling?
We got involved. Let me pull up the chart here.
My Optima's slow today. I'm not pulling charts.
We got involved when it just started breaking above 44.
Yeah, right. And that's why we love these volume pockets. Look at that vacuum. Just over the past 2 weeks, 45 to what, almost 60 today?
Well, it's funny because we talked about that big gap, that from that earnings gap back in August over the summer. We're like, we saw that gap and said, hey, that's a big yawning gap. I'd like to see that get filled. And boy, that thing got filled quick.
That's why we identify these zones on our charts and talk about them so much, especially in this kind of environment where buyers are really in control. You get into a gap like that with some momentum. I think SE has a decent short interest on it too.
Well, hey, Strazza, since we're talking SE and we got it up here, I would like to ask your opinion here. So when I first put the trade on, I have to be honest, I didn't think it would move this quickly. And when I originally put it on and I wrote about it in the research piece we put out, 65, the upside 65 was my level where I was going to begin taking profits. Am I being too conservative now, knowing what we know?
I don't think so, right? And if you were to even take profits here and then put something else back on, I wouldn't even hate that either, because RSI is at 87 right now, right? 65, I would think takes a little bit of time from here. What's the expiration? January of 2025?
Let's see. We are in
July.
No, we're in June.
June.
Yeah, my plan. Maybe I should be more clear. I wasn't going to take the whole position off of it to 65, but I was definitely going to take some profits.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe the move, right? Like we got there. I don't want to change my plan on the fly. This is what amateurs do. This is where you get screwed up, right?
Right.
But I hate saying, but if we get to 65 and we get there, let's say this, over the next 5 trading days, over the next week,
a huge gain.
That's a huge gain. It'd be irresponsible not to take some, but it's also a signal that, man, maybe we are really right. And maybe we should really hold on, because maybe this thing's just getting cooking.
I agree. I think we will have other options trades on this one in the future, but the fact that you're up against an expiry in June, that's kind of just right around the corner at this point.
Yeah. So you know what? All this hemming and hawing, and ultimately I'm just going to stick to my original plan, which is what 65. I should do all the time anyways. I'm just going to sell half of my position if we get to 65. And even just selling half of my position will lock in very sizable gains for this trade. So whatever happens after that will just be additional gravy, and it'll still be a great trade. So, all right, look at that. All that circling around. And what do I end up doing? I just stick to the plan anyway.
Amazing.
Listen, and with the momentum that this thing has at its back right now, we could be at 65 next week.
What happened to JC? Did we lose JC?
Only in
I don't
store.
know. The Victoria's Secret magazine just got to his house.
I'm not into the stuff that's in that magazine these days. I'm more
Guys,
into
I'm not
those.
kidding, man. I spilled my coffee on my desk. I was laughing so hard when JC dropped that because you know what? It hit home. It hit home. I could relate.
No, yeah, right. Me too. He's when he's funny, he's funny. You know, he's
Funny how? Am I here to amuse you?
Oh, nice Goodfellas.
How am I
reference.
fucking funny?
JC with like the second. That's like the second or third movie reference today out of JC.
Oh, I got a great. If you guys think I'm funny now, wait till you see the recess. I got a good one for you. Hit that bumper, Spencer.
I have a good one too.
All right, so my recess, I just want to wish everyone a happy Day of the Dude. Yesterday was March the 6th, which is the day that The Big Lebowski was released in 1998.
Yes,
The Day of the Dude. And there is your boy, JC. Not bad, right? That's pretty good. Pretty good Lebowski.
Pretty good.
When was this?
This was, it's actually pretty funny. This was in 2016. Yeah, this is 2016. And we had just, no, that's a lie. This is 2015. We had just moved to Sonoma and my wife was making some friends and I was dressed as the dude. And people were like, she has a boyfriend. You are not the boyfriend. They were protecting who is now my wife. And what was funny is that I was at the bar and everybody kept wanting to buy me White Russians. And like, I don't know if you've ever had a White Russian, but like you can't really have more than one or two. You know, they're very filling. Like having milk in your booze, like that's not going to end well.
They are delicious.
Very good. Yeah.
They're
Look at
fantastic.
the pants, the sweater.
So hold on. Do you still have this outfit? Somewhere?
I do somewhere.
And do you ever bust it out on a lazy Sunday morning?
I don't know if you heard, Strazza, but I have kids. Like,
Oh, he's got kids.
there's
guys.
no such thing as a lazy Sunday morning. I don't know.
Can't
Like,
wear.
I don't know what planet you live on, but
Yeah.
Well, considering this outfit was worn when you lived in Sonoma and we're heading back to Sonoma in just a couple of months, I'm thinking maybe that's a great opportunity for you to bring it back.
there's a store there because Sonoma is like the West, like the Wild West, like
Cowboy town.
like the cowboy town, like for real. Where it used to be anyway. There are stores there was a store next to the bar Steiner's that actually sold that sweater. Like not as a joke. Like actually that's just what they sold there. I swear to God.
Crazy.
All right, for recess, I got something here. You all, and when I say you, I mean the royal you. I mean you guys. I mean the watchers. I mean everybody who's an investor in America. You all owe me a debt of gratitude, because I take full responsibility for starting the great bull market that began in 2009. On the very day that the market bottomed, that was the day I started my Twitter account. I got my 15-year anniversary notification today on Twitter because I literally opened my Twitter account the day the great financial crisis bottomed. So you're welcome. It's a bull market, it's been one since I started Twitter.
Yeah, today was the day the Dow bottomed, I think, in 2009. So, yep. Nice.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you. We appreciate that.
I put that out on Twitter. You guys feel free to retweet that. You're welcome.
Was Twitter? What was Twitter like? Financial crisis, coming out of the financial crisis.
All right, this could be a fun little story. The reason why I joined Twitter was because during the great financial crisis, JC probably remembers this. If you were watching financial news, whether it's CNBC, Fox Business, whatever,
you weren't getting the truth.
All it was just people screaming at each other. It was the Octobox of like 8 people. Everyone's yelling at each other. Everybody's calling everybody out. Nobody knew anything. It was a disaster. And I used to watch this stuff. Strazza, I feel bad you still watch it, but I used to watch this stuff. And it was at that time I said, I can't watch this anymore. I got to take the TV out of my trading office. This is killing me. Like it's a distraction. It's just gets my blood boiling. That's no place for me to be trading. Meanwhile, at the same time that was going on, there was an article in Barron's. I still subscribed to Barron's at the time. There was an article in Barron's about Twitter, and I knew about Twitter, but I hadn't been involved in it. But it had a great article about like 10 or 15 people that were very, financial people who were active on Twitter and sharing great information. I said, hey, that's interesting. I didn't know I could use Twitter to do that. I thought it was just people talking about their lunch. So I signed up for Twitter. I followed a bunch of people. By the way, Andy Swan was the first guy I ever followed on Twitter. You guys all know Andy.
It's awesome.
Blast from the past.
But it was because of that. I was so fed up with the news. I was fed up with watching TV and everybody screaming at each other. I was fed up with the newspapers. And I was like, oh, Twitter, I can kind of control my intake and I could follow smart people. That's why I signed up. And it happened to be the bottom of the big sell-off. It was crazy.
Yeah, the little fact check. The bottom is a couple of days from now. Spencer, will be the anniversary of that low. I guess it would be the 15-year anniversary of the low. The other thing,
bottom, as they call it.
The other thing I was going to tell you is that I joined Twitter because I used to watch Brian Shannon YouTube videos, and in his YouTube videos, he'd like drop in. Today on Twitter, we were talking about and he would kind of just like breeze over. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? Twitter. Here we are. How you doing?
How you doing?
I have a quick story for recess. Last week we were talking about the fact that I need to buy a grill for the backyard. It's almost grilling season. On Sunday, my wife and I were going for a walk in our development. There's a popular path around here that goes behind people's backyards. And we're walking on this path, and she looks to the right, and what does she see? A grill with a piece of paper taped to it, and it says free. So we knocked on the person's door and we said, hey, what's the deal with the free grill? And he said, oh, you want it? It's yours. Go take it. Obviously there's no propane tank, and it might need a new like battery for the lighter or the starter. I don't know, whatever. He said it may or may not work. Regardless, I was like, thanks. So we took it and we wheeled it all the way home, and now I have a grill that may or may not work. So
we wheeled it all the way home, and the starter didn't work.
I have a grill if anybody wants it. It's a piece of crap. It doesn't work. You can have it too if you want.
I got one in my backyard that started.
I just got a new one, but I still have the old one. So
I gotta do it.
They're pretty cheap. You can get them at like Lowe's for a couple $100. They're pretty cheap these days.
All right, I'll let you know how my new grill performs when the time comes. But
yeah,
I thought it was cool. We were just talking about this, and then we found a grill, so it all worked out. Maybe, hopefully. Okay,
AI actually works.
That's what we got. It's Thursday, so we got the Options Jam session with Sean at noon right here on the YouTube channel, Chart Request Live. If you have any specific requests for charts, somebody on Twitter asked about the DXY. Come back here, right here, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Steve and Pat ripping through requests on CRL.
Yeah, I'll see you on CRL, Wavy. I'll see you there.
That's right.
Guys, if you missed yesterday's live stream on crypto, do yourself a favor, give it a watch. We're going to talk about why we're so bullish on the space. We're going to talk about the on-chain analytics that we can only dream of having in traditional assets. And we're going to talk about what the hell we're doing about it. So go check that out.
We didn't even talk about how I bought Mary yesterday.
We'll get there.
All right, the link to that video from yesterday is in the chat, but it's also right here on our YouTube channel. Thanks to Mike Lee. Thanks to all of you on YouTube. Thanks to all of you watching on Twitter. Smash the like. Go make some money. We'll see you later.
Adios.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs.